Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna try our hands on map visualizations. This is a very interesting area to explore. There are a lot of really good examples on map visualizations in 2D or in 3D. We're gonna try with a simple one first. I guess I think the one that's just kind of like displaying colors, maybe like a gradient of colors over area to kind of we're probably not gonna be using real data yet. We're just gonna try to give like different colors on a different region of a map, and I will be using Australian map for now. It's because it's really simple, and this is actually a really good website for it, amcharts.com. We can download the SVG map, and then we can actually zoom in and then find the area, and then depending on the details that you want, we're just gonna do the simple one like this. I think Australia has how many parts is this? Around 6 to 8, and I'm downloading the low detail version of the map. So we're gonna try to colorize this map, and we want to see what's kind of the things that we are dealing with. Okay, so I downloaded the map already, so I'm just gonna jump into Blender and delete the whole thing. Whoops, actually, select all, delete. Okay, I'm gonna import the SVG, import scalable vector graphic. SVG, that's the format that we can work with. Australia low.svg. This is the map. By default, the SVG tends to be 100 units smaller because normally it's probably being made using a vector graphics app like Illustrator. It's very easy for you to scale this up. So you select all of them, press tab A, and then scale it up 100 times. So type in 100, enter, and then it should be a good size now. This guy comes as curved objects into Blender. There's an advantage and disadvantage of this. We probably want to work with mesh anyway if we are using Sverchok at some point. But it's okay, we can leave the curve because this curve also comes with a nice information like the region's name. This is Western Australia, and we have New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania. So each part of the curve represents the name, and I think it's pretty clean. It's really good. We can save this. So this is map visualization basic 001. Now we want to switch to Blender Cycles right away, even though sometimes I like to work with a Blender render because we can, if we make the material white and we give a object color while this guy has object color tick, we can easily colorize different regions manually. But at some point, if the map is really complex, we don't want to give a random color manually. It's gonna be like a lot of work. Of course, you can you can definitely use Python scripting for this, and that's actually also a good thing to do, something to try for exercise. But I'm gonna do it using nodes. So instead of doing it manually, we're gonna switch gear. For the curve, I guess we can leave it like that. I'm actually gonna convert the curve into mesh using Sverchok. So I am hiding all of them and switch to Cycles render. I think they're still should be showing the color. Actually, they're no longer showing the object color, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna switch all of them off, but I need to select them first to bring it into Sverchok. So now I'm inside Sverchok. I'm gonna source all of them, objects in, get selection. Oh, by the way, we don't need to join them into one mesh. because that's gonna add a little bit to the complexity that we need to separate it inside Sverchok. We can leave them separated like this. We can work like that, so no problem with that. So I'm separating the map, and actually I'm bringing the map into Sverchok as a curve, and I'm going to separate all of them. Before I do that, I want to show you something with Blender Cycles first of all. So this guy currently doesn't have any materials. I will actually I think I'll try to convert them into mesh first using Sverchok. So the new mesh is called Alpha 0 to Alpha 7, and I'll give them material, and the material is going to be SV material. We don't need to merge them, but we can merge them if we want. We keep them separated, so it's simpler that way. Okay, now it's I'll hide the curve, make sure they are not selectable. Our mesh is actually that small because we have not applied the material, applied the transformation. So we need to apply the transformation first. Metric apply. So we are applying the transformations of the scaling inside Sverchok. Now this is the result. Okay, the result is now a mesh, and the mesh has these weird triangulations, but that's okay because once we are dealing with material in cycles, this kind of weird tessellation doesn't matter anymore. Now I'm switching to cycles, and yeah, I think we can work like this. I'm going to use emission material, and I'm gonna use a ColorRamp just for a quick test. ColorRamp have this gradient by default, black to white, and I'm going to use object info node and plug in random into the vector. And there you go. That's the first step. If you want to give like a random color to your map, you can also use other, like make your own gradient. Maybe gradient from green to yellow or red, and you can see the gradient's kind of doing that. You can also switch to HSV and give it a a bit nicer gradients because it's going around the hue. So see, clockwise, counterclockwise, it's usually better. You can give it like a rainbow color if you like. See, something like that should be interesting. Although it would be really nice if we actually have more control instead of just using random and then ColorRamp. So I think for that we need to try to use Sverchok for that. And there's one method we can use is to use the attribute. This is one node that actually can take information from the outside. So yeah, I guess we can do that using the vertex color SVG. That's what we are gonna be using. Save this. Now we're gonna use Sverchok and try to do it. First of all, we're gonna maybe plug in the color. We can actually pipe in the vector from vertex color actually. You will see later. Now I'm gonna switch to Sverchok, and with this guy, so this is the original curve, matrix apply, and this guy turn it into mesh. The next thing we want to do is to just give it a color, vertex color new, and these objects coming in should be like 8 of them, and you can see already the color is changing. Random, if we use random vector if we are using face and random vector and use like doing it this way, we're gonna give like a really weird coloring because it's coloring every face. We don't want to do it this way actually. We want to, I think, stay with the vertices. With the vertices, it's of course coloring the vertices, and we are still having this weird coloration, and we don't actually want this. All we need to have is actually 8 different colors, but we just need to split the color. So we know that we have 8 different objects. We want 8 split color, so we need to use a list split and simply splitting the color, and with 8 random colors now we have colorized our Australian map that way. So that's pretty simple and really handy, and that this actually works really nicely with cycle material like so. So this is plugging in just the color. If you want to use the color ramp like usual with the vector being between 0 and 1, we can actually do that as well. So I'm piping the vector now. Instead of using random color, I'm gonna be using random number generator. Assign it a float between 0 and 1 and size of 8. Plug this guy in, and there you go. That's our color vector. It's our vector value that's plugging in into this color ramp, rainbow color ramp, and really we are colorizing it more specifically, so we can actually randomize this coloration because this guy is actually spitting different number. If we use the stethoscope and look at it, list of blah blah item float, this guy is actually not super clear, but this is okay. We better look at it this way. So we have 8 different value, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 random value between 0 and 1 coming in from Sverchok and goes inside Cycles. Cool. In fact, we don't always need to use random color all the time. We can actually use range float. Range float start stop between 0 and 1 and count 8. This should be better. So it's giving a color to the map, more kind of like a gradation kind of color. Okay, and currently the color is actually black because I forgot to pipe this in to that guy. So this is the rainbow color of this color ramp. I can easily change this to any gradient, and it will update accordingly. And of course, this guy, if we shuffle this range float using list shuffle, maybe level 2. Okay, you see now the number is actually being shuffled. If you want it that way, that's fine as well. So now by doing it this way, we have much more control over the map. See, this guy doesn't actually have much difference between this and this. Maybe because of the color. Okay, I get it. Let's just go back to HSV and give this a funky rainbow color. And I think I don't mind the list shuffle currently because we don't have any kind of like informations about this map. The next thing I will do probably to find some kind of numbers to represent the map. Maybe like the number of populations based from the lowest to the highest, or maybe the number of the temperature of the Australia based on the region. That's also can be interesting. And that's kind of data that could come into Sverchok as CSV or JSON. I think CSV is the simplest one. But you see, because now we are able to colorize the map using numbers, like it's more numerical, because currently the number itself is pretty random, right? But if we have like a proper data, and we can kind of we have for each index of the map, we have like a kind of like a data that tells you about the number to represent the regions. We can easily make kind of visualizations, like turning just simply by using the index and the sequence. We can create a colorful maps that way. Australian map tends to be really simple, but maybe next time I use US map or Asian map or European map that has more region. But for Australian map, actually you can manually colorize it if you're really keen. Unless I divide this map into smaller parts, like a lot more details, then this can be more interesting. Anyway, that's actually just the basic, but it's really important. So again, I summarize the whole thing in one sentence. We have the original curve of each region of Australia, and I'm applying the matrix, and I'm outputting them as a polygon mesh data. With polygon mesh data, we have control over the vertices color. So that's what we are doing here. With vertices color, we can give it a different color using Cycles material. So this setup works really well. Normally, if you are doing this numerically, you need to use Python code. However, doing it this way, there's some kind of like a streamlined process. Whenever you want to make changes, you simply plug in a new information and it will update accordingly. So that's the premise here. Yeah, hopefully this live noding is useful. If you have any feedback, suggestion, comments, just let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.